Ladies and gentlemen, DB&A Television is proud to bring you a Roar Media production, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. If you do not know him, you better Google him. He was a high school Hall of Famer, school record holder, 10-time letter winner. He was just a boy with a ball and a young man with visions of greatness from the land of Hoosiers. When his playing days were over, he wanted to give back to the game that provided him purpose. He had found his passion on the hardwood. 14 years college coaching, multiple regional and conference championships, multiple national rank programs, coached the National Player of the Year. Winning followed him to 15 seasons professional coaching, multiple championships, multiple Coach of the Year honors, near 780 win percentage. He placed over 100 players to their respected national teams that represented their countries at the World Championships and Olympic Games. He has coached current and former NBA stars. His purpose is now to serve, empower, inspire. Here he is, host of the Coach Scott Field Show. Make some noise, show some love. Host Scott Field.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're watching us from around the globe. I say thank you for allowing us into your home and into your lives. I'm grateful. If you're watching us on Roku or Amazon Fire, on DB&A TV, a sincere thank you for that platform. If you're watching us or listening to us in podcast form, turn that knob up and let us put that flavor in your ear. If you're on Facebook Live, let's use the hashtag Coach. Make sure everybody can see that there. Coach MD Rebound. Use that hashtag and make sure you send in your questions, send in your comments, and use those emoji reactions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to lace them up for another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. If you're asking, why am I going to spend the next 45 minutes listening to this show? I'm going to share you why. Ladies and gentlemen, my special guest today, it's March Madness time, so what better time than to have an NCAA champion right here with us. 1982 NCAA champion with that Carolina Blue, those Tar Heels. Played with legendary coach Dean Smith. He was teammates to James Worthy, Sam Perkins, and another guy you may know, Michael Jordan with Jimmy Black. He's a husband to Kelly, a father to Hattie and Tucker, and he's the author of this outstanding book called Rebound, From Pain to Passion. Coach Matt Doherty, how are you today, my friend?
Doing great. Yeah, it's a great time of year. Thanks for having me on the show, Scott.
No, super excited to have you on, my friend. So thanks for taking the time to be with us. Super excited about your book, my friend. I enjoy books on leadership. I enjoy self-help kind of books. And I actually got through yours on Wednesday, and I'm like, wow, this is a must-have for our viewers. Again, the book is called Rebound. Also want to give a little shout out to Cindy for getting that over to us. She was just outstanding. Coach, this is the best time of year for a basketball guy. You and I, we're a couple coaches who have had a lot of success, but today we're just a couple guys sitting around a water cooler talking about life lessons and providing tools for the toolbox. So again, I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
Yes, sir. So, hey, I've got a couple excerpts here I want to take out of the book. And Michael Jordan, this is his quote. From the early practices, I could see that Matt was a leader, smart, methodical, and fundamentally sound. Matt may not have been the most physically gifted player, but he always was 2 steps ahead of everybody, and that's just how he could see the game. Michael Jordan also said, Matt challenged me each and every day and helped teach me how to really think and see the game. It is to no surprise to me that Matt is training the next generation of leaders. Coach, when you hear those wonderful statements, is that kind of the foundation of who Coach Matt Doherty is now and the master teacher and master coach that you are for the platform for your book?
Well, I don't know about all that. I don't know about master teacher. I do know this, that it was very humbling that Michael would, in fact, do the forward for the book, and that those comments were written by him. He didn't have somebody else write them on his behalf. It wasn't just a generic forward. I believe they were heartfelt, and they were received, so well, so humbled, so proud that he would take the time to write such kind words.
Well, when you hear somebody that speaks from the heart like that, who has such a high respect for you and your cerebral leadership with that core that won that NCAA tournament, I mean, that's got to make you feel good inside. And it's just like, okay, you know what? There is something about who I am and my perspective and my leadership tactics that go a long way for others.
Yeah, in leadership, I'm a Vistage chair, which Vistage is the world's leading executive coaching organization. And we talk a lot about the imposter syndrome, and sometimes we all need confidence. We all need encouragement. I'm sure, Michael, when he got to North Carolina, he needed to get that from Coach Smith and from his teammates. And so, because sometimes we doubt ourselves, and that's not a good feeling. And I've been there as a player, been there as a coach. And so to have people in our lives that are encouragers are critical. And that's the value of coaching. And it's not just in sports, it is in business too, because there's the imposter syndrome in business where, I've talked to many CEOs where they don't know if they're good enough. They don't know if they're deserving of the opportunity. And, I have to pump them up and say, yeah, you are. Look at what you've done so far. And, I've had players like that. I've had really talented players who didn't believe in themselves. And the beautiful thing as a coach is when you can connect with them and give them that confidence and see them take their games to the next level, that's magic.
Oh, and I think that's well said. I'm leaving this copy of the book up here again. It's Rebound from Pain to Passion by our guest here, Coach Matt Doherty. I just think about the things that you're sharing with us, and you talk about, that imposter type syndrome, because it is, at that 1%, that elite level who get to play at the professional level, the difference is that mindset, and it is how they perceive themselves and how they can fit within a team or within a structure. Don't you feel that that's probably the most important ingredient, being a leader and a life coach like yourself now?
Well, I'll take one piece of it. You talk about the players going from college to the pros. And I would tell every player that was considering going to the NBA or was ready to take that jump, I say in college, you've got a bag and the coach fills it up halfway with confidence and you have to bring the other half. In the pros, I really think that you're filling that bag up by yourself. Maybe the coaches nowadays give you 10, 20%, but most of the confidence has to come from you, the player. You have to have that mindset that I am the best. I have that confidence and be able to fight through some off nights.
True. And I think that's applicable to any walk of life. As you said, it doesn't matter if you're a CEO, if you're a business owner, if you are, a lawyer. I mean, you got to know that your physical presence and your mindset is going to set the tone and set the culture for the success for that organization. Do you agree?
No question. I talk about in the book the 6 no's of leadership, KNOWS, and I make up a story about recruiting a fictitious player named Stevitt, and I just created the acronym. You have to know yourself, you have to know your team, the environment, the vision, and that's where you've got to set the vision. You've got to believe in that vision, and you've got to walk that vision. People have to see you, because 50% of communication is body language. So if you walk into a meeting or you're walking the halls and you're slumped over and you're timid, people aren't going to want to follow that. But if you're strong and confident and enthusiastic about the vision of your company, people are attracted to that and they want to follow that. And that doesn't mean you won't face adversity. One of my favorite books that I've been reading recently is Shackleton's Way, and Ernest Shackleton, who had the expedition Endurance, where he went to the South Pole. You know, the biggest gift he probably had, and the thing that he looked for in his people was optimism. So when you face adversity, do you have the optimism that you can overcome? And I think that's one of the things that we had at North Carolina and Dean Smith had, because there were so many times we were down late in the game and he'd huddle us up and say, all right, we've worked on this in practice. Wouldn't it be fun to win this game? You know, we're down 10 with 5 minutes to go. Wouldn't it be fun to come back and win this game? You know, that type of optimism is contagious.
True. Not only the optimism, but just that calm direction and leadership from your leader. If your leader's not shook, you're not going to be shook. And just that calmness and just that positive affirmation, positive things are going to happen.
That's right. Yep.
Yes, sir. You know, talking about Michael Jordan and Coach Dean Smith, you know, I mean, here we are. It's March. March Madness is going on right now in the background. Teams are playing. It's been so needed in our society because, you know, the respite and the entertainment that it brings. I mean, thank goodness that they're playing in a healthy environment and things now. Your sophomore season, when MJ came onto campus and he was on that court, what were some things that you noticed about him right away that made him a little bit different and unique from other players?
Well, physically, he had long arms and huge hands. He was, you know, strong, especially his core. He obviously could jump. His ability to drive baseline, hang, and see a crease where he could get the ball off and still shoot with touch was truly remarkable. That was very unique. And then his ability to listen. And that sounds very simple, but I tell players all the time that listening is a talent like running and jumping.
It's a skill set.
and Michael was a terrific listener and coachable and wanted to get better. You know, he just soaked it all up and he could apply it immediately. Some guys, you could teach them something or give them a description about, you know, turning their elbow in or keeping their pivot foot down, and they couldn't apply it that quickly. Michael could apply it very quickly.
Yeah, see, and I can tell already with your leadership in this short amount of time that we're talking, not only are you a communicator, you're an excellent communicator, and your attention to detail is astronomical. And so I think those are things that also set a coach Matt Doherty apart from other coaches. The ability to teach, the ability to communicate, the ability to identify roles, but to also break down those specific details. Do you also agree that that is part of what makes Coach Matt Doherty a bit unique?
Well, I hope so. I wasn't talented enough to get away with not paying attention to the details. So I needed to understand how to cut to get open, how to jab step, how to take advantage of footwork, how to use ball screens, how to read the defense, how to read my defender. If he turned his head, you know, I could go back door. You know, I had to do those things to be successful. And then as a coach, that carried over. Having played for Bob McKillop, the coach at Davidson in high school, and then working for him, we always talked about the little things. The little things are the big things. If you take care of the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. And control what you can control. And, you know, you can control those little things. You know, at the end of a game, most games, there's 50 video clips that I would come out with. And I would tell the team, I don't expect you play perfectly, but perfection is our goal. And if you would have cleaned up 10 of these 50 clips, that could have been a 20-point swing. So how about just fixing 5 of the 50 clips? 10-point swing or more. You know, that's the way I looked at the game.
Yeah, see, and I like that because, again, not only do you know and understand the fundamentals, but yet that attention to detail and focusing on that detail and doing it with repetition, which is going to create those habits. So now it becomes habitual, and now it's, you know, you've done it 1,000 times. So now you just execute and do your job.
Yeah, well, the discipline of the repetition is critical, and that's why you can't be, as a coach, great at too many things. You have to kind of figure out, how do you want to play, what's important to the success of your program, and then drill that, and don't get bored with that. So yeah, that's critical. You know, a coach that wants to press, run a soft man, denial man, and a 2-3 zone, good luck with that. Yeah, that's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to create those aggressive habits where part of it is aggressive, other part is passive. That's where the players are going to get confused as well in what you're trying to get accomplished.
That is exactly right.
Oh, this is good stuff here. Coach, in that sophomore campaign, when did you kind of realize, you know, even though Coach Smith and Coach Williams and Eddie Fogler and Coach Guthridge, you know, I'm sure they were being positive and there was a lot of reinforcement and you guys competed every day in practice. But when did you know that season that, hey, this is special and we've got a chance to win a championship?
Well, I think we knew the previous year. We went to the final game in 1981 and lost to Indiana. And we had the core of that team coming back. We lost Al Wood and Mike Pepper, 2 starters. I was the 6th man, and then Michael Jordan came in to start in Al Wood's place. So we had the talent. We knew we had the talent. We knew we were good. And so we just had to hope we could stay healthy and stay out of foul trouble, and which we did for 32 out of our 34 games, I think it was.
Yeah, and see, and that drives me to another question where I'm remembering that SI cover where you guys are on the cover and Coach Smith is there, and Michael didn't get to be on that cover because he was a freshman, and that was one of Coach Smith's kind of things with freshmen. You know, they had to earn to get that spot. He's like, well, that's one thing that you know Matt was able to beat me at, was getting on that cover.
That's right. That's the cover right there you're talking about.
That's right.
And Michael, Coach Smith, and this is so good. I mean, it's so critical. He didn't put Michael on the front cover, even though he knew Michael was going to be really, really good and probably start. But Michael hadn't played a game yet. We had just started practicing when they took that picture. And Coach Smith was not going to put a freshman on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. And I just thought that, you know, and Michael understood that. And you got to earn it, because that would be so disrespectful to the other players that had been in the program who actually had gone through a season, had played a game. And you know, yeah, freshmen could come in and start, but you got to earn it.
Yeah, see, and I think that's a great message. And I feel like some of that gets lost in today's society where there's so much me, so much entitlement, and they're not earning, you know, the right to, you know, be in a certain situation. And of course, the transfer portal, which is a whole nother, you know, can of worms that we could get into. But I'm glad to hear that those values and those life lessons were taught and instilled and were a part of that Carolina culture, which made it so successful.
100%. I mean, yeah, there's just so much to draw upon from Coach Smith and the way he ran a program that it's a big foundation of what I do with my executive coaching.
Yeah, see, and I think there's so many life lessons to pull from that, and we're going to get into that. I mean, let's go down to the specific details, that final shot. Michael Jordan's on that baseline. He pulls up, he lets it go. Of course, that jumper is what puts you ahead of Georgetown. And of course, then the infamous pass. But what was going through your mind as you're on that high post and Patrick Ewing is right there clogging the middle, but yet you see that jumper coming off Michael Jordan's fingertips? What were you feeling in that moment?
Well, when we came out of the huddle, and that's another picture that's behind me there. When we came out of the huddle, I think Coach Smith went to each one of us and said, if you're open, knock it down. Because I recall him saying it to me. And if he said it to me, he said it to Michael, he said it to James, he said it to Sam. You know, I think in what I've read and you know, I think the goal was to get it to James and then maybe to Sam. And then if they jammed in, they were in a 2-3 zone, then Jimmy skipped it to Michael. And it still blows my mind today, Scott. He caught the ball with 18 seconds. And the defender was closing out to him. He's a freshman, 63,000 people. Dean Smith has never won a championship before. This is his 6th Final Four. Michael could have easily shot fake and passed the ball, shot fake and put it on the floor and deferred. But he caught that ball and shot it like he was the only person in the gym. And it went right through the heart of the basket. His poise and confidence in that moment, you know, that was the first step towards his greatness on a world-class stage.
That's when he became. He went from Mike to Michael.
Yeah,
that 23 with that famous tongue swag. But you know, I just it's neat to hear, you know, behind the curtain, you know, the emotion, you know, how Coach Smith was talking with you guys, and again instilling that confidence and, you know, that positive reinforcement to keep you guys calm, so that way you guys can go out there where Michael, as you said, poised, but the presence of mind and the confidence to be able to pull up at a tender age as a freshman to just say, I got this, and just to knock it down. And here you are coming across, you know, the high post, and, you know, you're seeing that shot go and then swish. I mean, what a monumental moment for the program, for Coach Smith, for Michael. I mean, but for you guys collectively to say we've now got over that proverbial hump.
Yeah, it was, you know, just everything you dream about as a kid. That's what that moment was. Everything, probably more. Because when I was a kid, I didn't think 63,000 people would fit into a basketball game.
Wow. And it's fun, and it still gives me kind of chills to hear your perspective of it and coming from your lens, because you lived it. You've gone through the hours of practice. You went through all of the training and preseason conditioning and the process of, you know, that building that winning tradition and culture of Coach Smith. And I think it's just wonderful to think about. Let's kind of have some fun here. Little rapid fire. Give me a sentence for each individual that I mention here. Coach Dean Smith.
Teacher. Yeah, teacher.
Yep. Coach Bill Guthridge.
Oh, gosh. Servant. You know, he served everybody around him, from Coach Smith to the players and the program. I mean, for 30 years, behind the scenes.
Yeah. Just that service leadership. I think that's well said. Coach Roy Williams.
I think worker, intense. Yeah.
See, I like it. Let's throw a little twist into this. Well, no, let's keep it going. Coach Bob McKillop.
Well, you don't forget Coach Fogler in there.
That's,
you know, Coach
Eddie
Fogler.
That's right.
Smart, savvy. One of Coach Smith's favorite words was savvy. You know, was Coach Fogler. But anyway, Coach McKillop, intense, attention to detail.
See, I like that. Now, how about some of your teammates? James Worthy, another McDonald's All-American.
Big game. Big game, James. Big game, James. He was the man. You know, everyone talks about Michael Jordan, but James, man, he was the man. There's nobody like James. I mean, still to this day, maybe Chris Webber. But James was a bad man. Man, he was good. Yeah. A great teammate.
How about the big smooth Sam Perkins?
That's just it, the big smooth. I mean, just, you know, just talent. I mean, 3-time All-American, talent.
Yeah.
Talent.
And think of him in today's game where he could stretch the floor and spread the floor, you know, with that jumper and that three. I mean, he was before his time. I mean, that guy, he had a tremendous skill set.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. How about Buzz Peterson?
Buzz Peterson, shooter. Buzz could really shoot the basketball. I think it was his sophomore year where he got hurt, and that really hurt us. But he could really shoot the basketball.
There you go. How about Kenny the Jet Smith?
The Jet. I mean, Kenny was the fastest player I had ever seen end to end with the ball under control.
Under control. That's the key statement.
Yeah. A lot of New York guards were out of control. They go so fast, but they get out of control. But Kenny could go, you know, in fifth gear, get it up to fifth gear, and then downshift at the top of the key and make good decisions. And I think that's probably a tribute to obviously him, but, you know, he had a great coach in Jack Kern in Malloy High School.
There you go. And see, and you're a guy coming out of New York yourself who also won a state championship. So, you know, it takes a player to know a player. And for you to say so quick, but under control, that's nice, because you got to value the possession and make sure the right people are getting the right touches.
That's right.
There you go. Love it. How about Bobby Ellington?
Oh, gosh. Lifelong friend. Yeah, he's my best friend from college, and, you know, to this day. I mean, I just talked to him last night. You know, he was there when I first took the job at North Carolina. He was there when I was getting run out of town, and he's a special friend. I'm truly blessed to have him as a friend.
That's awesome. He was your college roommate, wasn't he?
That's right.
See, that I think that's awesome that, you know, you have those bonds. It's just something that will always connect. And here we are. We thrive to connect and meet people on a different level and have that bond. So I had to mention Bobby Intat. I think this has been fun. You know, we've mentioned those names. Now, how about Coach Matt Doherty? Describe that man.
Yeah, I think passionate, intense, driven, tactical, strategic, and still evolving.
There you go. And I think that's great, because, you know, in reading your book, I want to, you know, dive into that more, you know, for our viewers. Let's talk about the book Rebound. Where can our viewers find this book? Because, again, I'm not just saying this because you're on the show. This is definitely going to be on my desk back here. I'm going to refer to it often because I feel like it helped me evolve. It helped me with personal and professional growth. But yet it also allowed me to reflect and be a better version of myself. That's what I'm getting from the book.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
No, I mean that. And it's powerful. It's heartfelt. I know you put a lot of passion. I heard your word passion. I want to key in on that because there was a lot of passion behind that book. But I'm assuming that there was also a lot of healing in writing that book for Coach Matt Doherty.
Yes. I've dealt with depression. I didn't admit it till I wrote the book. And one of the byproducts of the book has been a sense of the breaking up of the black cloud that was over my head for so long. I think that putting some of that emotion on paper for the public to see was healing. And then on top of that, when people would contact me that had read the book and felt like, hey, thank you for sharing that. I went through a similar experience in my life. And it's nice to see that somebody else has struggled and how they got through it. The forgiveness part, that's really, Robin Roberts, who's Good Morning America, she has a great quote. She says, make your mess your message. And my mess of losing my job and having my leadership questioned at the University of North Carolina, and then going on a leadership journey and now writing about it, made my mess my message. And, I want people to learn from the mistakes I made, and hopefully they can avoid the landmines I stepped on.
That's powerful. And I'm hearing, there's so much boldness to this. There's so much vulnerability to this. And the fact that you were able to put that out there that way, I think shows a strong character of who Coach Matt Doherty is. And I thank you, because again, it's helped me heal. It's helped me soothe in some things in personal and professional life. And so for that, I thank you, because it is a powerful tool for the toolbox for others. And I implore people to go out and get a copy of that, because it's going to strengthen their armor as well.
Thank you so much, Scott. That means a great deal to me. A great deal.
No, I'm being very sincere when I say that. There was a statement in the book too, and you opened up one of your chapters, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Tell me what that means to Coach Matt Doherty.
Well, that's Peter Drucker. That's a quote from Peter Drucker, legendary, management guru. Well, basically, you could have the great strategy, but, the best laid plans, you could come out with a strategy of, hey, we're going to try to pound the ball inside, or we're going to trap or we're going to play a zone and the other team's tearing it up. Well, that strategy goes out the window. And Coach Smith would even say that. Scouting reports sometimes go out the window after the first 5 minutes. Then it's the culture. Do you play hard, as Coach Smith would always say, hard, smart, and together? That was our culture on the floor. Did you play hard? Did you play smart? And did you play together? Those are the things that would last beyond the strategy, because the strategy, somebody gets hurt, your best player gets hurt. What are you going to do? Your strategy has to change, but the culture is always there, regardless of the strategy.
Coach, that is very powerful, because again, you got to have something to fall back on. And I think about Mike Tyson and his famous quote, everybody's got a game plan till you get punched in the face.
That's a great quote. Yeah, that's a classic quote.
You better believe it. And Coach, you've had such great basketball experiences to draw from, but what were some of the lessons that you also pulled from your time on Wall Street for those few years between basketball jobs?
Well, I think one of the things I learned there was phone sales, because that helped me become, I think, a good recruiter. The ability to talk on the phone, cold call people that you didn't know, and try to close a sale, which is what you do as a recruiter, to get somebody to say yes. And then one thing I learned on Wall Street, once they say yes, hang up the phone. Don't oversell it and get people to say, think too much about it. Like, hey, congratulations, get excited about the sale, hang up, boom, write up the order. We're good to go. Yeah.
Move on to the next.
That's right.
Move on to the next.
And the other thing I learned is that I didn't like what I was doing. And I think young people, they want the perfect job out of college. And I'm like, no, just take a job and you'll learn what you like and what you don't like. And you can check that off the list.
That's right.
Most people are going to take over 8 career changes nowadays, not 8 jobs, 8 career changes. So you might as well get rolling and check it off the list. So there's no perfect job.
Yeah. And see, I think those are great nuggets but you can still learn things from that job that can be applicable to your next job to make you a better version of yourself.
100%.
See, I like that. Let's get back to the emotion of the book. When we talk about July 11th, 2000, what did that mean to you to be at that presser, to be named head coach of your alma mater where you won a championship, and where now a torch was being passed on from Coach Smith to Coach Guthridge to now Coach Matt Doherty, who had success at Notre Dame University? What was that feeling like on July 11th?
It was kind of a surreal experience to be in the press conference with my wife and my kids and my staff, and to see a lot of familiar faces from my days as a player, to now thinking that I'm going to be taking over this storied program, but as a tremendous responsibility too. But we immediately went to work and started recruiting that night, got our first commitment in Jackie Manuel, who ended up starting on the 05 championship team.
Was there pressure? Was there any fear? Was there any trepidation? Well, I mean, what was the initial reaction when you were kind of going through the process and talking with people and interviewing, and then all of a sudden now you're named? Was there any fear or pressure?
Oh gosh, I'm sure. Yeah, there's pressure, but I was just so busy trying to get the job done. I had so much work to do.
Yeah, you had the big picture.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I've got to get on the road recruiting, because it was July 11th, and most coaches understand that July is the most important recruiting month on the calendar, and people normally get jobs in March and April.
Yeah, like right now.
And so that I felt behind the 8 ball in recruiting, and that was the thing that I felt at that point I needed to address. That needed to be the priority.
Yeah, see, and I understand that, because again, recruiting is the basis of what how your philosophy, your culture, your system of play. Can you get the right players that fit your philosophy and style of play? So there is that added pressure to that as well, and also starting later in July. So we as coaches, we get that, but I wanted to expand on it for the viewers who have not been in that environment or in that atmosphere.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Looking back at things, and we as coaches, I mean, we're a different breed. Let's be honest, because we hold ourselves to such high standards, and we put ourselves under a microscope with high expectations for ourselves. So with that being said, I wanted to preface that question. When you look back at it now, a couple of decades later, do you feel, was it a mistake to bring your staff from Notre Dame instead of keeping some of the North Carolina staff that was there already when you look back at it now?
Yeah, I think 2 things. I should have either stayed at Notre Dame, or if I took the job at North Carolina, I should have cut a deal where I could bring my staff with me, but in a reduced role, because I didn't want them to be out on the street, and maintain the 3 assistants, Phil Ford, Dave Hanners, and Pat Sullivan, who were so vital to the organization as former players and former assistants, that I should have kept them in place. I should have thought through that more. And quite frankly, I probably should have had the AD and Coach Smith think through that more, because I was going miles, I didn't know I felt it was either or. So I said, hey, if I can't bring them, I'll stay at Notre Dame. So I was told by the athletic director, it's okay for me to bring them. But I really think that damaged, that hurt Coach Smith a great deal, that occurred. And that was tough for me to overcome.
Yeah, but I understand what you were thinking because again, it's time to hit the ground running. Let's get out and recruit. And you were showing loyalty to the staff who helped you have the success that you had at Notre Dame with the Fighting Irish.
100%. I mean, that's the thing I learned at North Carolina was loyalty. So for me to leave them out in the cold, I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, I think that's there's something to that character as well, because I live out here in Salt Lake City now, and may Coach Sloan rest in peace. He allowed me to come and be with the Utah Jazz for 2 years when I was between head coaching jobs. And yet I saw 23 years of loyalty to a franchise. And then I think Coach Phil Johnson, who was with him for 23 years, that's the epitome of loyalty. I mean, again, that's, you hear the term loyalty being tossed out there, but those actions, I mean, those are powerful things. And I understand what you were doing when you did it. And I admire that. But again, we can all reflect. It was always like, where could I have done a better job? And that's all a part of that growth and maturity and evolving as persons and professions.
No, it's coaching. What do you do when you lose a game? You watch the film and get better.
That's right.
I love Coach Sloan. I went out and watched him practice and Phil Johnson, and I got to know Gordon Shaza very well. And after I lost my job at North Carolina, I visited out there, and he's walking on the practice court like every bone in his body hurts. He's got his John Deere hat on. He's yelling at some rookie from half court, and I open the door right like onto the floor at half court. And I've got my suitcase over my shoulder, my briefcase, and I never really met him before. So he's doing this, and he's yelling at this player, and all of a sudden he looks at me, he goes, "Hello, Matthew," and shakes my hand like in stride. And I'm like, then he sits down next to me, and he lets the other guys coach. Phil did the offense. I think Gordon did the defense. And he said, I like to be the dean of discipline. He says, I like the discipline part. And he sat next to me and would just bark orders at the players. And it was just such a cool experience, and just had tremendous respect for what he stood for as a person and a man and as a coach.
That you're exactly right. Amen. Because he never allowed the tail to wag the dog. And like you said, that discipline, you know what? Your socks were pulled up, your jersey was tucked in. And, of course, it's old school, or the old heads, as they call it now. But yet, some of those fundamental values still carry over to success in today's society. Let's be honest.
100%. 100%. That's right. That's right.
I love it. You had another mention in the book, pain and growth, 17 years of pain and growth. Forgiveness is freeing. Talk about that. Talk about forgiveness.
Well, until you forgive, you're going to maintain a bitterness, a hurt. And someone said, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies, So, I'm a Christian, and I've forgiveness is all in the Bible. And I felt that if Jesus could forgive the people that crucified him, I could forgive people that I felt may have wronged me. And on top of that, I think that we need to learn to forgive ourselves, because often we can be harder on ourselves than anybody. And with the negative self-talk, it just continues to drive us into a dark place. Yeah. And once I forgave others and forgave myself, I felt a lot of weight lifted off my shoulders.
See, and I think that's powerful too, because that negativity is a toxicity that you say can drive you to a deeper and darker place. And that self-esteem and self-worth goes down with that body language that you talked about earlier. I mean, you could read that on somebody and see it in their eyes. So to hear you say that is very cleansing. And I appreciate you, Coach. I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
I know we got to rush because you've got things going on too, and this has just been wonderful. You talk about in the book, managing triggers and uh, you know, managing change is an art and dealing with failure. The bitter bridge over a bitter river. I want to talk about that one though, but how about that bridge over a bitter river?
Yeah, that was the last paragraph I added, Scott. A friend of mine, John Black, who's in the book, asked me to talk about how hard it is to go through this and how hard it is to grow as a leader. And that's when I put that in there. And I think stories, as I learned to become a better speaker and writer, stories are what stick. People remember stories as opposed to give me the 3 keys to, overcoming bitterness, right? But you can remember a story about driving a car over a bridge over the bitter river, and there's no guardrails. It's a hefty toll. And when you hear someone say something like, yeah, you got screwed, or that was your team that won the 2005 championship, or, I'd see Mike Bray sign an extension at Notre Dame. I'd drive off that bridge into the bitter river. And it's really hard to keep 2 hands on the wheel, drive slowly, and avoid getting drawn into that bitter river, avoid reacting. And that's where forgiveness really comes into play.
Yeah, so, Coach, I think that's so empowering, the nuggets that you're dropping right there, because that a story is much more meaningful because we can all have analogies to a story than just, 5 points on a PowerPoint. So right. I love that teaching methodology there that you're using. And I thought that was powerful. So I wanted to have a chance to, talk about that. And Coach, again, our viewers, the book, Rebound, From Pain to Passion. We're going to try to conclude this here in the next 8 to 10 minutes. And this has just been a magical afternoon for our viewers. And I feel like the growth, the opportunity for growth, the empowerment that they're going to get, the book that I want people to get. Please tell them again where they can find the book.
Well, Rebound From Pain to Passion, they can find it a couple different ways. They can go to Amazon. That's probably the easiest way. They can go to Barnes & Noble. It's in the Kindle version as well. It'll be in the audio version, hopefully by April 1st. Or they can go to Coach D at rebound-book.com if they want an autographed copy, and they could buy it directly from my allotment. So those are the options.
We'll make sure we provide those links in the threads that we have going here. But again, I want people to, put this in their library for tools for their toolbox. Because again, I'm a huge fan, and I'm not just saying that because you're on here with me. I say that because I truly believe that it's going to inspire and empower people. Because I'm telling you, it was very cleansing for me as I read it. And I just felt like, it's helped me evolve and be a better person and a better version of myself. So again, I thank you for that. Just great stuff, Coach. Great stuff.
Thank you.
We were talking earlier, and, the last thing we talked about was, the bridge over a bitter river. And I want people to go back and listen to that part again. But again, we also talked to setbacks are an opportunity for growth.
That's right. Expand
on that.
Well, you're not going to really grow if everything you do is successful, right? Nelson Mandela, one of the best leaders the world has ever seen, has a great quote that I put in that book, and it says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And so if you have that mindset, you're not afraid of failure. You embrace failure because it's an opportunity to get better. Michael Jordan often talks not about the shots he made, but the shots he missed. Thomas Edison says, well, now I know 10,000 ways not to do it, because he's failed so many times. You can't be afraid, because when you're afraid, you become restrictive. Just think of a golfer or a shooter. If you're afraid to miss that shot, you're not going to make that shot. If you're afraid to hit it out of bounds, you're going to hit it out of bounds. So you've got to be free and loose and confident. And the confidence is, as you said earlier, comes with repetition and believing. Then you believe in yourself. Yeah, that's the setbacks. You know, as a coach, you watch the film, you make the clips, you show the players the clips where we made some mistakes, you show the players clips where we did things well, because as I said earlier, Coach Smith would say, praise the actions you want repeated. And then you go out and work on them. That's what coaching is.
Amen to that.
It's okay. Like the thing about being coachable, we've got to, like I talk about mining for the truth. Like I want to be told the truth as a player. Michael Jordan wants to be told the truth. He doesn't want somebody to BS him and say, oh, you're great. You don't need, you're really good at everything. No. What do I need to work on to get better? I want to be better. Roy Williams would say, if you might be on the right track, but if you're standing still, you're going to get run over.
Ooh. Yeah, see, I agree with all those things because they're just so true. And, I think about, it is okay to fail. Just fail forward, keep moving, keep producing, keep putting out content. And those are things that are going to be healing for you and therapeutic for you. And of course, we can laugh and say, losing builds character, just don't be a cartoon. But again,
right.
Learn and don't repeat the same mistakes over and over.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But if you're afraid to fail, you'll just stay in neutral your whole life. You want to drop it into gear and go after it a little bit and live your life and just learn from those mistakes and learn from others. And that's why I wrote this book, so people won't make the same mistakes I made.
Yeah. And seeing again, I think there's a lot of power in that because there's so much of a servant heart coming from you, and it comes through the pages and it comes through in the chapters. And again, it's something that just, there was a magnetism for me and it drew me in because again, it caused me to reflect, to make sure that I'm not going to continue to make the same mistakes that I've made. So again, ladies and gentlemen, go out and get this book, Rebound, from Pain to Passion by Coach Matt Doherty. It's truly powerful. You also talk about, the growth zone, and it's just outstanding because I'm a true believer, just as you mentioned, Michael Jordan, the greats, they don't want the fluff. They want to be told directly, and that comes with trust. And you know what? We want to be better versions of ourselves, no matter what walk of life we're in. If you're the smartest person at the table, change the table. If you're the smartest person in the room, change the room. And if you're the smartest person in the building, go find another building. That's what I believe. Steel sharpens steel. But, that growth zone for Coach Matt Doherty, what is that? What is all about growth for you? Where does that come from?
Well, that came from losing my job, at North Carolina. When I lost my job and was forced to resign and questioned publicly about my leadership, that was an opportunity to grow. Like Nelson Mandela said, I didn't fail. It was an opportunity to learn. And that's what I wanted, that perspective. I wanted to get better. And so, I was uncomfortable. I lost my job. I was thrust into one of the most iconic sports teams in the country, pro and college. And I was, often out of a comfort zone and tried to grow during the time there, but made some mistakes. And, through those mistakes, became uncomfortable, went and studied and became more uncomfortable, but learned through all that. And it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. I think that's where you grow.
Yeah. So true. So true. This last final question. What would the Coach Matt Doherty today, with everything you've gone through, what conversation would you have with an 18-year-old Matt Doherty?
I probably, and Bob McKillop and I talk about this, I was taught to be humble as a player. When I made varsity as a freshman in high school, my parents said, you got to stay humble. And when I am told something, I kind of overdo it. And Bob thought that I should have been embraced gone for the ring more, don't defer so much, don't be tentative. And there were times I was as a player. And so I wish I was a little bolder, maybe played with more confidence and without the fear of failing. I didn't want to, I played tight sometimes because I was afraid to make a mistake and get pulled out of the game. And then I finally freed up a little bit more, maybe as a junior in college. But I wish I would played with maybe even more confidence than I appeared to play with.
Wow. And see, I think that's powerful. And Coach, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the sentiments. I appreciate the passion. It's been very heartfelt. It maybe has been a little bit emotional. I felt the emotion, during this time. And I can't thank you enough for that. Again, it's all come from a servant heart. And that's what I'm so grateful for. I'm a firm believer, Coach, that, Hattie walking across the UNC campus, it's got to fill your heart. The success that Tucker is having, with his lacrosse and things that he's done. Your wife, Kelly, you know what? You're a great man. You're a great leader, a great husband, a great father, and that all comes through. And I appreciate that. I think your character is outstanding. And so for that, I say thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. What's next for Coach Matt Doherty?
Well, I do executive coaching, so with Vistage, so I'm building a practice. Hopefully I launch my first group in April. This is a big month for me. Next Tuesday, I have an event where I have 24 prospects, candidates that are coming in, and we're going to have a meeting. And I've already have 2 signed up, and I'd like to have at least 6 more signed up to launch with 8. So I'd like to build up my group. I like to do the corporate talks, and break 80. I need to break 80 this summer in my golf game.
Hey, and so much of that is just like a shooter. You got to have that muscle memory, and you got to have that repetition, right?
That's right. And you need a coach. You need a good coach.
That's right. And that mindset is so important because, man, is that such an easy game to get frustrated at.
Oh, yes. Amen to that. Scott, thank you so much.
No, hey, I appreciate you. God bless you on your journey. Continued success. And if there's anything that I can do for you from my end, please don't hesitate to call. I'm excited that we've had this opportunity to connect. And I'm so excited that our viewers have had this opportunity to learn and grow together with you. So, again, everybody go out and get the book, Rebound. From Pain to Passion by Coach Matt Doherty. Coach, enjoy the NCAA tournament, and really got to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for being patient with me.
Oh, this has been wonderful. God bless you.
All right. Bye-bye. You too.
Bring it in. Thank you for watching the Coach Scott Field Show, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. This DBNA television broadcast is a Roar Media production. Don't forget to subscribe to the Coach's YouTube channel. Like and follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have yourself dressed and ready to go in the locker room for the next exciting show coming soon. Thank you for watching the Coach Scott Field Show, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. This DBNA television broadcast is a Roar Media production.